Let's foray into Nevada's wild spaces. This is a half-an-hour adventure with the Nevada Department of Wildlife. This is Nevada Wild.
Here on this mountain top, I got some wild, wild life. I got some news to tell about some wild, wild life.
Welcome to Nevada Wild, brought to you by the Nevada Department of Wildlife. I'm your host, Bobby Jones, with co-host Aaron Keller and special guest Mike Cox, our big game staff specialist overseeing everything bighorn sheep, mountain goats. Thanks for coming in, Mike.
You betcha, man.
So we're going to go into the weeds, everything bighorn sheep today, hunting. We're going to touch on a little bit of genetics work that you're doing and all kinds of special topics. And don't let me forget about the symposium, but where would you like to start?
Well, 'tis the season. We may have missed a few people that have already applied for their big game tags, but as I think most people know, you can adjust your choices up until the 12th hour. So we're going to definitely give people ideas and where to go to look at some data that can really help them make decisions of what's the latest, greatest unit for bighorn sheep, ram hunting, and some of the unique hunts that are being offered this year. There's a little bit of new twist for management ram hunts. And then, I've been collaborating with some colleagues west-wide on bighorn sheep genetics that has direct implications for future bighorn sheep management.
Yeah, and that big game draw deadline is May 13 for any of you out there looking to adjust your choices based on Mike's feedback.
So, with no further ado, you can, a lot of you have already been going on to our website. We have the top 10 that provides an overview of a lot of the different stats that, regardless of the big game species, that will educate you of where your 5 choices should be. I want to highlight a couple of those pieces of information that I've been providing for a number of years. There's obviously the checkout summary, which is really good. Tells you last year's, the 2025 harvest of all the rams, days hunted, average age, and then it also has the maximum horn length and the base of each ram. So you can kind of see what suite of rams were harvested. If you're not into score, which is just fine, you just want an opportunity, you can look at average days hunted. It looks like people were seeing the sheep. Or if you want to find the absolute hardest to hunt, knowing that people may not be putting in for it, you want to look at those areas that average days hunted were 20 plus days, and say, okay, I'm up for the challenge, right? I'm young enough, or I'm old, but I think I'm still young, which is some of us. So that's a good one. But one that I really want to highlight today is there's been a lot of changes across the state. And just to give you a big metric of that magnitude, we were just talking amongst ourselves that we have more bighorn sheep than any other state in the lower 48. Alaska has more thin horn sheep. But we hit our peak in 2019 at, we were over 12,000 bighorn sheep. And it's something that all of us are very proud of, along with all the NGOs like NDOW Reno, Fraternity of the Des Bighorn, Fallon, Midas, that EBU, that helped us get there as a team, as a family, working for one mission of restoring bighorn sheep, but had a lot of die-offs, a lot of pneumonia die-offs, and we are now down to around 8,000. So we've lost over 4,000 bighorn sheep in the last 7 years, and that one's a tough number for me. I think about it every stinking day, and there wasn't a lot we could do with it. But we're working through it. We've got some herds recovering, but some of the herds that you may have heard of that were top-notch 5-10 years ago had big rams, big scores. They may not be at the top of their game this go around. And so I think you really need to do your homework to know what's an up-and-coming population, some of the metrics that are now, they were negative maybe during the drought. They're starting to turn around. We're starting to see now bigger bases, better scores, less days hunted. So there's a table both for California bighorn and deserts that is hunt stats by unit group and year through the 2025 year. And most of them, if they've been around long enough, it's 20 years of data. So they summarize how many tags there were by year. So it has a line of every year for 20 years of tags, percent success, days hunted, average age, score, the max score within that unit group, the max horn length and max base within that unit. So you can see that trend. You can see them, they were up high, they went down, they're coming back up, or they're staying down. And so I think it's a great table to help educate and inform tag holders or sportsmen wanting to get a tag of where to put in.
Yeah, and so then the easy way to find that is on NDOW.org, and then you hover on the Get Outside tab. It's the third one down. It says hunting. Hover on that, and you'll get to top 10 big game resources. It's one of the most clicked on tabs of our website. It's very powerful. There's tons of information. Like Mike said, there's bonus points, data. There's all sorts of different things that you can use to kind of build out your application. But this one is one that Mike said he's not real sure if people know what it is or how to use it. And so we want to make sure it's easy for people to know where to find.
Yeah. Good job, Aaron, in giving us the path.
Trying to make it easy.
Yeah, the path to the information to get your tag.
Yeah.
But it's still tough. You know, we're still seeing increases in tag applications for desert bighorn and California and Rockies and mountain goats. All of our mountain ungulates, you know, we just keep on. There's no shortage of applications. So this is what the best thing you can do to combat the mass of humanity wanting a tag is to do your homework.
Yeah, and just that, I guess the hopeful part of me is that somebody's going to get these tags. Like, they're definitely going out the door, and we're just trying to give people all the information they can to put themselves in the best position possible. And you're listening to the Bighorn Sheep genius, Mike Cox, so
yeah,
definitely getting pointed in the right direction.
I'm just like you guys out there that I'm putting in. I've been fortunate to draw a tag or two, but still no Rocky, still no mountain goat.
We just keep applying.
Until we're how many?
That's right.
Forever.
Well, Mike, you mentioned it, and we actually hadn't talked about it before, but do you want to get into any bits of information on the new management ram hunts or the tweaks to the management ram hunts? Because there's kind of a couple.
Yeah. You know, they start off with a little sad note of why we're doing them. But, you know, we've had management ram hunts out there for a good 6 years maybe for different reasons. We've got the one horn. We had the wilderness hunts in central Nevada and the Toyabis, where we were looking for the Brutus to the ram slayer to bust his hump to get up 5-10 miles in. But in this particular two hunts, one is the Snowstorm Mountains for California bighorn sheep, and the other is a desert bighorn sheep population in the North Pancakes, kind of halfway between Tonopah and Ely, where we have been combating and dealing with disease events and domestic sheep interaction for decades. and both have been a little bit different in their scenario of falling prey to pneumonia. But right now we've made the decision to depopulate both herds because they're a risk to adjacent healthy bighorn herds. And we've been trying to clear the pathogen from the herds, and it just hasn't been successful. So in the snowstorm herd, we've got about 35 to 40 animals left in the herd. We're estimating about 18 rams and 15 to 16 ewes. And we've got some of them collared, GPS collared, but we're going to be issuing tags probably, depending on the final decision by the commission. We're recommending 18 tags for those 18 rams. Now, we probably will only expect 6-8 rams harvested.
Right.
And we've got, a couple bombers out there, but, we want people, it's a management ram hunt. So you see a 2-year-old ram, you probably should harvest it. But it's a tough hunt, and it's tougher than any. It's just going to be a normal hunt. You're going to be forced to glass, wear out your boots, go to places you don't want to go to. It's kind of a needle in a haystack, because we used to have 150.
Sure.
And the other one is the North Pancakes, and we only have we have 6 rams, 6-8 rams left, we think, with about 8 to 10 ewes. And
Small group.
very small group, big mountain, great habitat, but it actually, there's a wintering domestic sheep flock that comes every March, and it's just we need to remove them.
Yeah, and this is the sad reality, management decisions, trying to create opportunity wherever we can with the management hunts.
Yeah, it's like a silver lining in a bad story, in a sad story movie, but maybe it'll have a happy ending, at least for a few sportsmen that are lucky enough. But it's not fish in a barrel. You better strap it on. You better be ready. You better have your team. But it's going to be competitive, probably a bit. So we just want to give people a heads up of what they're getting into. But it's management ram hunt. It's once in a lifetime for each subspecies. So you can put in and say you draw the California snowstorm management ram hunt this year. You're still eligible for any of the other management ram hunts for deserts.
Right.
Yeah, and the I'm glad you brought that up, just to give people a perspective on what the different types of opportunities are, what you're still eligible for, not eligible for. The it kind of gets into, though, I just don't want to miss it, a little bit of the sheep genetics work that you're talking about and kind of a longer term focus. And do you want to just touch on what that might look like?
Yeah. So now we're going to shift from giving people the inside scoop on where to draw a tag, where to hunt, to long-term management implications of stuff that a lot of people don't know about. So I've been around way too many years, 33 years with this agency, and it's been a ride. It's been great. I've been so fortunate. But one of the things that I've known about and is the history of bighorn sheep in Nevada. It's very colorful, and it's pretty incredible. We estimate that we may have had 30 to 50,000 bighorn sheep before a white man showed up in the 1800s. But we always wondered, what were those subspecies, or was it just all one? As most people know, in Nevada, it's pretty different down in Nelson, Nevada, than it is the Jarbidge the town of Jarbidge. I mean, night and day. You're talking about looking like you're in Arizona, and then you go to the Rubies and you think you're in British Columbia. So we're thinking, oh, there had to have been different subspecies to accommodate these different climates and habitats and elevations. But scientists 30 years ago looked at this issue, and now we're involved directly with a professor at Oregon State University, great colleague, Dr. Clint Epps, and a couple other his colleagues that he's been working with for years, of providing some historic skulls, and I'll get into what the hell is an historic skull, that he can literally drill into, extract bone chips, and then do DNA sequencing of the DNA that's still locked into these skulls.
Right.
And so we consider historic bighorn to be anything prior to the first translocations that we did, which were in the late 60s, where we got some California bighorn and put them into the Sheldon, and we were putting some deserts on the Wasatch Range, and then and then the rest is history, right? We've translocated more bighorn sheep than any other jurisdiction in the West in restoring our bighorn herds, but there was still some doubt of what did we really have. And do you want me to keep it little like hanging on your seat, or do you want me to get to the
I don't know. I think you can go either way. We're definitely going to have to dive into this topic on its own, but it's such a fascinating story, and you're the right person to tell it.
So I'm not gonna go to the final. Here's the bottom line, but I will tell you that 30 years ago, a couple geneticists went to a ton of museums throughout the West, whether it was Elko, Nevada, or Berkeley, California, Portland, Oregon, or Tucson, Arizona, and they got historic skulls that some of them were never radiocarbon dated to figure out when did that animal die, when did it take its last breath on where it lived, and they thought that the entire Great Basin was desert bighorn sheep, and then they kind of decided where Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep were, where California bighorn were. They kind of refuted the Audubon bighorn that was thought to be in the Great Plains of western Dakotas, Nebraska, eastern Colorado. But they didn't have a lot of DNA. They were doing some horn measurements and stuff. So there was still a little doubt. So fast forward, we've known about a couple historic skulls that have been found in Nevada. A couple cool ones we were just talking about before the podcast. There was a older couple walking along Walker Lake. That Walker Lake has dropped 20 feet in elevation over the last century, and so they found a piece, not an entire skull, but a piece of a bighorn skull. And we had the former BLM archaeologist here for Nevada. We gave him the skull, and he got it radiocarbon dated and came back 900 years old. Yeah, pretty wild. That it had been underwater and had just receded maybe in the last couple of years, and they found it and
Stumbled into it.
Yeah. So then there's been a cave we call the Drop Cave, Snow Cavern, another name, in a cave near Eureka, Nevada, and another one that was in the Toano Range, over southeast of Wendover near the Utah border. And then most recently, one of our colleagues, John Muir, that works for Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, ODF&W, he's out of Lakeview. He found a skull in a Native American hunting blind on Hart Mountain National Wildlife Refuge the last couple years. And so all of those skulls have been given to Clint Epps over the last 12, 16 months for him to work on. Just to extract the DNA is very difficult. And then to be able to actually do the sequencing it's not a given. It could be a 50-50 chance. It's unstable. So it has to be done just right. So that's what he's been doing. He's also been getting other samples from the state of Oregon. And we had a cool thing, and I might have both of you talk about what just happened at the sheep show 3 months ago with Clint.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd like to, but we need to do it with Keller because he was kind of there for the skull story.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you can see how this is all a big project, and it's like way bigger than any one person or any single sheep. And we're talking about sheep that are ancient in my mind, right? And funny story is that Clint was taking samples, and they were like, "Hey, we want to get these couple sheep sampled while Clint is in town," and ended up being one of the sheep. I was there when it was found. And I was 17 years old, and
it was what reservoir?
The Wall Canyon. It was on Wall Canyon Creek.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the sheep, and I remember it like it was yesterday, seeing that thing sticking out of the cut bank. And so yeah, we went there and got the two skulls sampled. It was a really cool deal, and that's why I think we should do a whole nother podcast. Some of these results are like going to come back pretty soon on the age of these skulls, and I think it'd be cool to have Clint.
But tell them about how this thing all got set up during the sheep show, where he came down for meetings and he was part of it, and then he was staying at the pepper mill,
right?
And where did he do all the sequencing?
He did it in his hotel room.
This is the funny part.
Yeah, so in the hotel room, he said, "Hey, just bring it to my hotel room. We're gonna get everything I need, and we're gonna get my samples." And we were like, "Well, we have a wildlife lab. We can just go there." And he said, "No. Like if we go to a wildlife lab, there's way more wildlife DNA,
wild sheep DNA." Floating
and
around
other
in the
things
air.
that are around, like as sterile as you think you're going to get it. There's still like a potential to have some wildlife stuff like contaminate these samples, and that it was actually better to do it in his like makeshift little lab in his hotel room, which was very cool. We took a ton of videos and a ton of photos, and so really excited to get those results back, just to kind of tell that whole story. And
one of the long-term supporters of Bighorn Sheep Restoration and friend of ours called me just last week, and he said, "Hey, is there test results back?" Because he had found this other skull down in northern Washoe County, and it's like, "Gary, sorry, Clint's still working on it. I think he might have some radiocarbon dating back yet, but I haven't seen anything." So we're all kind of with bated breath, holding back and waiting for the data to come in.
And the funny thing is when Bobby and I came back, we were like, "This is so cool. Like we got all this great video." We heard of two other skulls that we know are very, very old by the stories that were told. So hopefully we can kind of
get those
and then get those sampled as well. And funny stories of like, hey, there was a fire, they had to cut this out of a tree, it was old then, type of a thing. So.
Yeah, and there might be a piece where it gets to the like community science, citizen science stuff, where you're going to learn a lot of things, and there's going to be 10 more stories that just come from different places that we haven't touched yet. But the state's not that big. Like people know where some of these things are, and I don't know, just helping tell that story. This is the intersection of like how science can come
Science
to be
help direct
later on, right? You're
conservation.
talking where we're going to learn stuff from skulls that have been sampled before, new technologies, or being able to do things differently.
I think
and
it's
just kinda
also
understand.
it's a good perspective into kind of wildlife conservation, but then also you talked about at the beginning of the podcast 12,000 plus sheep in 2019 to 8,000 in 2026. That's like a very small sliver of time for bighorn sheep, and we're talking hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years.
Yeah. So the longest or the oldest skull radiocarbon dated in Nevada is now pushing 50,000 years ago. It was in a cave, and that was work done by Brian Hockett, former BLM archaeologist.
Yeah,
And so 50,000 years.
right.
Yeah.
So when we talk about you and your management strategies and
Just
your
a blip.
33 years.
Yeah. It's just a fraction.
yeah,
It wasn't a fraction to me, man.
right. I know. Yeah.
So yeah, exciting. So I think the next podcast, we might have some of the results back that we can paint this picture of. We've got now data to help direct, how do we move forward into the future, knowing where bighorn were living back in the day, and what type of bighorn they were.
Yeah. It's funny, Mike. I've had you on the podcast a whole bunch of times, and every single time it's like this. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's your like energy for bighorn sheep and your passion is so apparent, and it's very addicting to like talk about. We've sat in this room for almost 2 hours now. We've only recorded 25 minutes of a podcast, but we've been talking, kind of nerding out on this stuff for a couple hours now, and it's every day with you. It's very cool to see.
Well, it's good to be able to share the nerdness of bighorn sheep, because I know there's a lot of other crazy people out there in Nevada that just love anything about wild sheep.
Yep.
Any side notes that just add to the continued passion that we all have for them.
Yeah, and talking with you is as inside baseball as bighorn sheep gets. So I hope everybody appreciates that. But you've got something coming up here very soon where you're going to have a lot of the best minds in bighorn sheep talking.
Yeah, so in our circles, really in all of wildlife, whether it's sage grouse or deer or bighorn sheep, we get together with our colleagues every other year. We have these biennial conferences. So we are hosting in Elko for the very first time the 25th anniversary of what's called the Northern Wild Sheep and Goat Council Symposium. And just to tell you where it's been in the past, 2 years ago it was in Anchorage, Alaska. 2 years before that it was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, so some pretty kick-ass places. And it brings together all the researchers, a lot of the managers, the biologists, including geneticists and every other epidemiologist, to talk of what we know, what we don't know, what we've learned, how we're managing, how we can better manage our mountain ungulates. And so it focuses on northern wild sheep and mountain goats. So we're excited. It's been a lot of work. We've got a great team that's been putting this together, and we're really excited to showcase the Ruby Mountains. I think a lot of people, whether they're from British Columbia, Montana, or even next door in Utah, I think they're going to be blown away at. It's not just the Mojave Desert. Nevada has some cool mountain ranges.
And that's June 15th to the 18th in Elko.
Yep. So, and we've been really great support from all of our local NGOs. Some of their members are gonna be there, and we've got some great science talks and some general management. We're gonna talk about wild sheep movement modeling. It's a big issue. They go on long forays. We've got a special session that's entitled enhancing and elevating mountain goat conservation in challenging environments. I have become a huge mountain goat advocate. They are such a cool animal. Man, how they live, where they live, how they survive. They're the hardiest animals out there, and I think all of us in the West, because we're going to have a speaker from British Columbia and Montana and state of Washington, and we say, hey, it's a cool critter that not many people get to play with, or hunt. You're going to see a few tag increases for mountain goats in Nevada this year, and
we had one last year.
Yeah, we keep creeping up, and so we're giving more opportunity. But to those few of you that are listening that have had a mountain goat tag, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And those that you haven't, wow, wait till you draw that tag. It is going to change your life.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm laughing. I know that we've strung people out all over the place. It's top 10 big game resources. Make sure you look up everything on bighorn sheep before you apply. Bighorn sheep genetics, management ram hunts, Symposium and Elko, all the stuff.
We shoehorned it all into one podcast.
I know it's too much to fit into one, but anything else you want to give people before we swing back around with them and talk about radiocarbon dating when we get Clint on?
No, I just thanks for having me on all the times you have, and I'm retiring in a few months.
Oh, I wasn't going to tell him, Mike.
And it's been a ride, and very proud of this agency and what we've done, and all of our team of people. We just had something that we've done for decades. A biologist dinner hosted by Nevada Bighorns Unlimited Reno chapter, and it was great talking to their board of directors. Many of them have been in the ranks for 15, 20 years, doing great work, raising funds, helping build guzzlers, and they're so passionate. And it's been a passionate career. With people that are fueling it with their passion, and it just feeds off of each other, and great people that have been helping provide more opportunity for people to get out and watch wildlife, hunt bighorn sheep. So kudos to them.
Yeah, kudos to you, Mike. Keller kind of touched on it. Your energy's infectious, and there's nobody more invested than you. But the ride's not over. We're going to get you one more time.
Yeah, we'll record that last podcast.
You better, and
with
there's going to
Clint
be some
and-
pretty interesting results, I think.
Yeah, so we'll
Looking
get you
forward
back in
to
here. Yep, looking forward to it. Thanks, Mike. Thank you, Bobby. And thank you, everyone, for listening. That does it for this week's Nevada Wild.
Join us again next week for our next adventure, Nevada Wild. It's a production of the Nevada Department of Wildlife.